Yeah, I'm still holding on hope for zombie Paul Heyman. I think that would be so great. I don't want to see him as a regular superstar, but I think on a zombie, he would be a lot of fun. Well, Lee, we are just a few days away from heading back to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia for what is now a pretty big show, a premium live event that affects people in multiple time zones and continents. Crown Jewel. It's going to be Saturday, November 4th. And if I remember right, it'll be coming on about 8 a.m. West Coast, somewhere around 10, 11 a.m. East Coast. And so it's kind of a fun Saturday morning PLE. But we've got a card that we're going to talk through. And you have any thoughts on Crown Jewel before we go over this card?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last time, but the Saudi Public Investment Fund, the Crown Prince, who have uh, made these happen, have pretty well asked for or kind of orchestrated so that these are on some levels more than glorified house shows, but getting closer and closer to where these are like WrestleMania level events for that. Like it's like the B version of WrestleMania. And I mean, you can see it. And one thing that in particular I thought was interesting, there was a report that came out that this will be the first crown jewel that Brock Lesnar has not been a part of. And the reason that I thought was pretty cool and surprising is because they feel like they have enough star power without him. Whereas before,
Oh,
remember Brock versus Cain Velasquez? Remember that joke of a let's just
yeah.
give that was okay. So back in the day, Halloween Havoc, there was this rumor that Hulk Hogan orchestrated in WCW for the Ultimate Warrior to come in just so he could beat him and get his win back from WrestleMania 6. I don't know how much that is true. I'm not speaking into that, but it felt like that. Like Brock got beat in the UFC by Cain Velasquez, bring Cain Velasquez over, hype up as this Battle of the Titans event, and then Brock beats him in like what 2 or 3 minutes definitively, right? It was Brock going, "Hey, let's bring him in so I can whoop his butt," right? And that's what it felt like. But
Hmm.
that was the center of the show was that type of a match. And now this time around, it is maybe not a WrestleMania worthy card, but it is up there, man. I mean, this is going to be the first time we get LA Knight against Roman Reigns. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, and I think LA Knight earned it basically on watching last year's Saudi show, the pre-show, the press conference. The crowd was so hot for LA Knight the whole time. He's made it a year now at the
Yeah.
top of the kind of the fandom. So I think he's really earned it. I think he's selling merch like crazy. I think he's got a following that is faithful. They love chanting his name and his yeah in the arena.
Yeah.
And I still think he's a clunky wrestler. Like I don't. I mean, he's a heck of an entertainer. I would love to see him behind the announce desk at some point. I think he's infinitely better than Wade Barrett or some of the other former wrestlers in the announce desk. But the guy just looks like a baby deer that just learned to walk in the ring. He just moves around, he stumbles, he wears those weird Timberland boots, and it's like my son has some little boots like that, and he has a hard time walking in them. That's how LA Knight wrestles. So
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be the last time that somebody with a limited ring ability but above the top charisma was given all of the opportunity in WWE. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't watch him on the Indies, I didn't watch him in NXT, so I can't speak definitively if this is just the way they're booking him or if he legitimately is just not as great. I mean, the blunt force trauma is it's a choice for a finishing move, right? Like it works, it can work, but if it's not sold right, it just looks weird. Like I would love to see the BFT on John Moxley. Like that dude would sell it like he broke in half, you know?
Hmm.
But either way, yeah, if you watched the SmackDown recently where LA Knight was actually in the ring with Roman Reigns, the most amazing thing to me, again, I said it before, is he didn't just hold his own, he belonged there and he owned that segment. Like there was no question that that was LA Knight's segment, not Roman Reigns's. So
True.
you've got those
True.
type level cards. You got Logan Paul is going to defeat Rey Mysterio for the U.S. Championship. You've got some things to talk about on this. So why don't we go down the card, and I want to hear some
Well,
predictions.
okay, so unless I'm wrong, there's actually only 4 matches that have been announced, which means the rest of the card is still being announced this week on SmackDown and next week on Raw. So there is actually still, as I look
Not
at
next
the
week on Raw
calendar,
if it's Saturday.
no, 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 it's not. It's not the 28th. I was wrong. It's 1 week away still. It's November
Oh,
4th. So
okay.
this is the 26th.
Okay.
So actually, we don't have to do predictions yet. We can do that on next week's show. But I wonder about this, and I think this is something worth talking about. We've talked about it with our pal Iron Sheik 84 as well. The international presence of women and women's wrestling, especially in Saudi Arabia, they are going to have more women in the ring than they ever have with this fatal 5-way. Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Raquel Rodriguez, and Zoe Stark. They're going to be dressed head to toe, I'm guessing, in the
Yep.
NASCAR driver suits. Is this a win for women's representation on the international stage, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, when Crown Jewel first came about, part of the pushback from certain large portion of the audience, let's just say, was that this is a country that has historically had different views on women and not very favorable in a lot of people's eyes. And WWE used this phrase, they were on the forefront of change, which sounds like a lot of PR speak. It's like when Stephanie
Hmm.
Mann invented women's wrestling a few years ago, and she came out and just said, like, I have made women's wrestling and now this is a thing. And you're like, oh, way to way to dismiss every female that's ever been in this sport across literally the last 100 years. But the forefront
Such a
of
McMahon statement.
change, right? So over the top. Yeah, and everybody kind of mocked them for that. Like, yeah, you guys are really just looking for a paycheck. This is a paycheck play, which I still think it probably was, but the reality is they were the first. Lacey Evans versus Natalia was the first women's wrestling match in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia ever. That did break ground. And now you've gone from that to where more and more of the card is becoming these women's matches. And so whether this really was some highly benevolent move from one of the three McMahons, and we'll just throw a dart to see which one it hits, or whether it was just a cash grab, it did end up working. So good on them, I guess.
I think they put talent in this match to put on a show. I think this is going to be a spectacle to have
Yeah.
a 5-way match with ladies. I anticipate it's not been announced yet, but I anticipate this is going to be some kind of TLC rules or no holds barred, no DQ match. And I think you're going to have a lot of action outside the ring. I think you're going to see weapons. I think you're going to see girls do stuff that they've not done. Typically, it's very clean matches, in
Right.
Saudi Arabia, clean pin. I think there's going to be a controversial finish somehow with this, and that they're going to want it to be talked about on the
Yep.
international stage. Now, I don't think I don't think in any way will it be inappropriate or immodest or dishonoring to the culture of the Saudis. So I don't think that's the angle they're going to go for. I think they're going to highlight athleticism, and that's why they brought Raquel and Zoe into this. I think they're going to highlight feats of strength. I think they're going to do
Yep.
some things off the top rope. I think they're going to do some, like what we always see, like the triple suplex off the top, like the entire unit, flies off together and
Yep.
choreography. I think we're going to see some big spots outside the ring. Um, and the girl I'm most excited about watching in this match is Zoe Stark. I've really been impressed with her in ring. um, I don't know, just her persona, right? She's just a brawler. She goes after people like a bulldog. She
Yeah.
doesn't back down from a fight. I like her. I like what she's doing in the ring. I think she's going to be the one to surprise us. I don't think she's going over or winning this, but I think she's going to
No.
be the one that we go, whoa, what a match Zoe Stark put on.
Absolutely. And I think you said it, I don't know that it's going to be a highlight of athleticism in the acrobatic sense. Certainly not from a couple of the people that are in that match, but I do think it's going to be a display of power. You know, you got
Yeah.
Raquel, you got Naya, and you've got the world's champion mommy in there. I think they're going to have like a hoss fight, like a real like clash of the mega titans, Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla, you know, against each other kind of feel. And I do think that moves the opinions of women's wrestling forward, because if they just did a big acrobatic show, it's like, oh yeah, these girls are a spectacle in that sense. But you're putting them in the place of, you know, where Vince used to book Andre the Giant, where he used to book Omos, where he and I know I'm going to start getting into some names that aren't as favorable, like Giant Gonzalez and stuff like that. But those were his spectacle matches, right? He put Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez, not because Gonzalez was a great wrestler, but because that was would you look at the size of that ham hock, right? That was the big one. And that's the position on the card that I think this women's match has. And that's an amazing thing. That is a great thing for representation, to say, like, the power match, the one with the muscles, the one with the hard hits, it's the females. And
Yeah.
look at that. I do think that moves the ball forward.
Yeah, they're moving away from the persona that women are delicate,
Yeah.
and I think they're emphasizing that women are also powerful. I think that's the message that we're going to see, that girls can do powerful things and be powerful. And I think this going to be a weapons match. I really think,
Interesting.
unless I'm just getting it wrong, unless I'm misunderstanding the Saudi audience. Those guys seem to go berserk for tables or kendo sticks,
Right.
or I mean, it's almost like they, from what I've seen in the when Brock and Roman went through the cage and the cage
Yeah.
collapsed, it was a spectacle in that arena. It
Right.
was huge. It was wildly received, like enthusiastically celebrated. And the
Right.
American audience is going, "What? This sucks. This is a stupid finish." But the fact that it happened,
Right.
the pop was like proof. It was proof that
It
they
was
loved
huge.
it. They loved it. So
Yep.
yeah, we
I
can wrap it
agree.
up for today. But go
Well, I
ahead.
was going to say, I think with that match in particular, my prediction is all roads lead to Jade Cargill. So I see one of three outcomes. They all lead to
Oh
her.
wow.
Mommy retains dominantly, and then Jade Cargill comes out and flexes.
Hmm.
Nia Jax wins, and then
Oh.
Jade Cargill comes out and body presses her out of the ring or something like that. Just one of those,
Gorilla
like,
press, like Ultimate
gorilla
Warrior.
press slam out of the ring, and everybody goes, "Oh, this is awesome!"
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Jade gets inserted into the match last minute and she wins.
Oh,
But I
that'd be
think
great.
hopefully if they do it right, the pursuit of Jade getting there would be good. Although if they have her come out win dominantly and then every female on the roster just tries to step up and take her down, I think that's some good TV. I think that's some good storytelling. And the Saudis are paying for a spectacle. They've got Logan Paul, they've got Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. I think that this match gets the spectacle play by having Jade
Mm,
crowned. Whether she actually wins or whether she just shows up
yeah.
and becomes this dominant force. I might be wrong, and maybe they take her to NXT first because they have been showing her there a lot too. But if I'm booking this, and if Triple H seems to be booking her dominantly, I think she above everybody else walks away the one we talk about that Saturday. So
I there's not a place yet for Judgment Day really in this match. I mean, in this card. Um, Let me ask you this. Is it possible, as a wrestling fan, I'm going to ask you a loaded question. Is it possible that creative would actually allow Cody Rhodes to win the Money in the Bank briefcase from Damian Priest?
well, I would say I hope not, not because of Cody, but because there's a precedent. They have done it before, right? There was Otis who won Money in the Bank, and then Miz won Money in the Bank from them. But to me, Money in the Bank should never be treated like a title that someone else
Mm,
can take. But there is this how do we get to Cody and Roman going on, and they've teased it already, which you said on the last episode is way earlier than we've ever seen them start the road to WrestleMania before, unless you count once in a lifetime Rock and John Cena, and then twice in a lifetime Rock and John Cena, right? They normally don't book it that far in advance. But that we do have to figure out how to get to Cody and Roman, and certainly the Money in the Bank briefcase would be one way to do it. And if Damian gets cheated out of the Money in the Bank briefcase, with Otis, they just basically said, okay, sit down, son. You've done what we needed you to do. Hopefully, you find some other avenue in the future here, right? With Damian, if they did legitimately take it from him, it would be super cool to make that redemption arc story out of him. Maybe that's what brings him either the not the bloodline, the Judgment Day back to the forefront of things, or even just Damian Priest on his own, where he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. He was cheated. He was robbed out of this. But does Cody need the Money in the Bank briefcase to get to Roman? I don't think so. But you do have Damian Priest as this big question mark because the world title doesn't seem to be going anywhere. He doesn't seem to be chasing Seth, at least right now. He doesn't seem to be chasing Roman. So he's kind of a question mark over both. But where are they going to pull the trigger? Like, if they don't start building something up, it's either going to be completely out of nowhere or they're going to make an entire storyline where it's just the redemption of Damian Priest.
If I was a little boy playing with my wrestling toys and creating this scenario, I would have Cody, this is me playing with the toys. Cody Cody would win the Money in the Bank briefcase from Priest at Crown Jewel, so that it's a high stakes event, and then are you ready for this? And this is just my toys, right? I'm just playing. Then with the Money in the Bank briefcase, he would stalk Roman in the rafters like old Sting. It would
Wow.
pan to him up in the top, and he would just be holding the briefcase and looking down at Roman from above and like pointing to it, like, I'm coming for you. I'm coming. I'm going to finish the story. You don't know when. You don't know when it's going to happen. I could, now the WWE will probably never, ever, ever put anyone in the rafters ever, ever again. So
Right.
this is just me, a little boy
True.
playing with the toys, right? but how incredible would it be if Roman had to watch his back, and maybe it won't be WrestleMania. Maybe it won't be. Maybe he won't have time to prepare, and that bell could ring any second, right? That would be
Ooh,
incredible. That would
I
be
like
incredible.
I like the idea of the bell. That would be a really good like Pavlovian cue to where like Roman's doing an interview segment and the bell rings and Cody stands there with the and he like maybe teases handing it in and then he kind of walks away and
Oh
then week
man.
after week they just ding and Roman like mid promo just stops and starts to sweat and looks around. I was actually going to ask you when you were on the Sting in the Rafters piece though, do they then I don't know. Thinking of Sting, do they give Cody Rhodes face paint? Do they give him some maybe he could put his hands together and make a symbol of some kind. I don't know, like something very iconic, like a star or something.
Here's what we need. Here's what we need. We need the WWE Universe to be introduced to Pharaoh, Cody's white husky. He needs to
Okay,
be Pharaoh needs to come out, and I don't know, man. Cody's holding him, like holding him back, and he's snarling towards Roman, right? Or he's Pharaoh shows up in different places, indicating that Cody's there. Like that would be incredible. Roman's in his locker room and hears a scratch at the door. He opens the door, and it's Cody's white Siberian husky dog, right? And he's like,
just
"What
sitting
is
there
this?"
growling.
Yeah, yeah, just mind games in it. I would love it.
Oh, I do like
I would
that.
love it.
I like that. Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
Cody versus Roman. That's the end game one way or another. So I'd love to see how they get there.
Yeah, take us out, Lee.
All right. Well, thank you, WWE Universe, for joining us today. No matter what faction you're in, no matter what level of player you are, we appreciate you. We enjoy being a community with you, and it is an honor to smash gems together.